Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back for another lore video. Today's topic is an ogre who is a legendary prophet of the Great Moor. I'm of course talking about Skrag the Slaughterer. So without further ado, let's begin. Skrag the Slaughterer, also known as the Gore Harvester and the Moor that Walks, is, as stated before, a legendary prophet of the Great Moor. He is a particularly brutal ogre with unmatched skill. Once he was the head slaughtermaster of the tyrant Bronn Rockgrinder. However, his position as head slaughtermaster did not last long, as Skrag accidentally cooked and served up the tyrant's favoured noblar on a plate at a great feast. Obviously, upon finding this out, Bronn was not pleased, and in a rage, the notoriously bad-tempered tyrant hacked off Skrag's hands and devoured them, cheered on by the drunken ogres at the feast. Skrag was then banished, and the slaughtermaster was escorted, being shamed, beaten and bloodied to the cursed caves under the mountains. His punishment was not over, however, as Bronn had one final punishment for Skrag. Bronn sadistically ordered that Skrag's great cauldron be attached to his back by a series of chains and hooks anchored deep into the slaughtermaster's flesh. Skrag was then hurled into the dreaded caverns beneath the mountain, and the only way out was sealed by a giant boulder. These are the very same warpstone labyrinths that future Gorgas are thrown into at birth, and he was expected to provide a solid meal for the degenerated creatures. Now Skrag was determined not to die, and refusing to despair, he rammed his own butcher's implements into his wrist stumps, forming makeshift weapons. Bleeding and bruised, but far from beaten, Skrag stumbled even deeper into the dark labyrinth, dragging his meat pot behind him until, in the pitch darkness, he was set upon by a pack of ravenous Gorgas. Now a quick side note, Gorgas are a feral degenerate offshoot of the ogre race, and we will cover that in a separate video. However, I am digressing, so let's continue. The Gorgas surrounded Skrag, and this would have been a definite death sentence for any normal ogre. But Skrag was no normal ogre. There he hacked around him, ripping and cutting countless assailants before he came face to face with a grotesque hulking creature that ruled over the other Gorgas. This creature had killed many ogres before him. However, not Skrag, as Skrag ripped the foul creature's throat out with his own teeth. The other Gorgas backed away from Skrag, respecting him as one of their own. Driven by visions of bloody revenge, and now that he had a sizable army, Skrag led his Gorgas up into the mountain until they resurfaced in the dead of night, deep within the Moor pit of Rockgrinder. Emerging in a frenzy, he led his Gorgas in a grand feast dedicated to his god, the Great Moor, ripping apart and consuming every ogre present. Rockgrinder himself was pulled apart and boiled in Skrag's meat pot as an offering to the Great Moor. As he made his dedication, Skrag felt his wounds knit together, as powerful energy surged through his body. An offering this large did not go in vain, as the Great Moor noticed Skrag, and Skrag became a prophet of the Great Moor, a living avatar of his ghastly will. Being a prophet of the ogre god of gluttony, he has almost unrivaled authority over his fellow ogres. Skrag will also take some younger butchers as his apprentices, allowing the hordes that he commands to really benefit from the Moor's powers. He will also summon his Gorga allies, as the unexpected numbers of ferocious half-beasts are too valuable of a resource for him not to use. Since having emerged from the Moor pit to devour his foes, Skrag is regarded with awe and fear, even by the most terrible of tyrants, who see Skrag as the living embodiment of their ferocious god. His Gorgas remain his ever-present guardians, shadow him wherever he goes. By following his familiar scent, they are guaranteed fresh kills to feed their insatiable appetites, and as such, they revere him as their savior, and they're incredibly loyal. Now, when Skrag feeds his Moor cauldron with bloody meat, he is rewarded with tremendous powers, making him nearly unstoppable and able to withstand the most severe of wounds. It is only when battle has ended, and there are none left to slaughter, that his power diminishes, and his chains to his cauldron slack. Within days, however, visions drive him onwards to saturate his god's hunger, and so Skrag must once again seek battle. And with that, my friends, we have come to the end of our lore video. Thank you so much for watching. Might I suggest giving the video a like, as it really does help the channel out. If you'd like to keep up to date with all my postings of Let's Plays, guides, and lore videos, may I also suggest subscribing to the channel, as it will keep you up to date with everything. And finally, if you do have a request for a specific lore video, might I suggest leaving a comment, as I do tend to take these into consideration, and I'm always happy to take a request. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Until then, adios.